is far from the only country in the world where public sector workers make up a large part of the total workforce, but its fiscal management and the economic conditions of the past several years have proven that Greece is one of the most dysfunctional countries. It's now being forced to make many of its civil servants walk the plank, hoping this will lighten the ship and help prevent it from sinking. With pensioners, civil servants are the main group facing pain. Salary cuts, suppression of traditional paid days off, and a raising of their retirement age above 50. A union leader says there is little sense to this. The workers cannot take any more of these tough economic measures. They have been suffering for the past 22 months. We have already lost 15% of our spending power. This is not contributing to an exit to the crisis, but making it worse. Greece's working population is around 5 million. The people who receive their paychecks from the government easily number more than 700,000, from administrators to secretaries to soldiers and electricians in the public utility company. Its bailout creditors say that is simply not sustainable. A report for national reform just out gives the precise count: more than 636,000 public sector workers with permanent contracts and nearly 70,000 employees in it with other types of contracts. Athens has promised to lay off 150,000 of them in the next 4 years to shrink the payroll. Greece will need a leaner, smaller force of civil servants to do the same work as before, only better, notably in the finance ministry. If it is ever going to make a dent in its colossal sovereign debt, it must wrestle down tax evasion, which is the #1 cause of lost state revenue. In January, the government published a list of more than 4,000 Greeks whose unpaid tax bills totaled €15 billion. Keen eyes all over Europe are watching to see if politics is truly the art of the possible.
Whatever happens in Greece politically, reform of the Greek state will remain a necessary and Herculean task. Well, with us now to discuss the challenges is Karkatsoulis, a top public administrator in Athens and a key advisor to the EU's Greece task force. Mr. Karkatsoulis, thanks for joining us. Even if Greece were willing to comply with the EU reform demands, can they be achieved in the timescale given?
It's something very necessary, and I don't know what's going to happen during this month. However, the reforms in public administration are very necessary, and no other change, economic or financial, can be sustainable without such changes.
What for you would be the most immediate, what would have the most immediate impact? Fiscal reform?
What's missing is a strategy where the Greek state is going to be in the near future, or let's say after 1-2 years. So the Greek state is in deep crisis as far as it concerns its functionalities. What it's doing is doing very badly. The performance is very low, is extremely expensive in what it's doing, and on the other hand, the last 2 years we are operating under the MOU. We haven't seen any concrete plans, any concrete steps how to change the situation, only measures here and there, very partially, no concrete strategy, and the result is extremely poor for the time being.
Well, it's a political issue, but is it also a cultural issue? Because corruption and inefficiency in the Greek system is so deeply rooted that it seems part of the culture. So how do you go about changing that culture?
Listen, I understand there's a cultural issue that certain attitudes have been developed in certain areas where there is no control or only few legalistic controls. So this to happen, it means a concrete policy and a very solid basis of commitment on behalf of the parties that are ruling. It needs a lot of efforts and very coordinated actions.
You have recently been voted the world's best civil servant by an American institute. So if you can achieve that accolade, surely there's hope for your compatriots. Let me ask you this question. Are current stereotypes about the Greeks demoralizing people there?
Of course, there are stereotypes more ideologically burdened, if I may say. So the real fact is, and the mere fact is, that there are many people that are trying to do their best in the public service, and the state is still alive, if I may say it's still vertical, it's still working because of these civil servants. Okay? On the other hand, I understand that we cannot talk about changes. We cannot talk about big bang changes if we don't have the politicians with us, if we don't have a political commitment and a parliament that would be that express its will, so to pass certain regulations and this and that. From that point of view, I understand that there is a problem, and the sooner the political issue is solved, meaning to have a government, to have a sustainable government, the better for the civil service.
Well, Mr. Karkatsoulis, thank you very much for those insights.
You're very welcome.